Hello, Adam. How are you doing?
Hello, sir. Flying it, pal. What about yourself?
I'm all right. What you on with?
Not too much, mate. Just obviously it's been over a week since we caught up. Plenty of good and bad going on in boxing, right?
What's weather like over there in sunny San Francisco?
It's not very sunny at the minute, mate. We had a bit of a storm there over the weekend. There was only one day that would qualify as a storm in Ireland and the UK. But the city's not prepared for the rain. So anytime there's a bit of rain, the manholes block up or the waterways and the streets and nobody knows how to drive. So it was bedlam for a couple of days, but you can't appreciate the good without the bad, isn't that it, man?
Yeah. Do you know where Carmel is then?
Yeah, I've been down there a couple of times. It's lovely down there, man. That's paradise.
Yeah, it's expensive, isn't it?
Mad expensive. Me and a couple of times boys have come over here for trips. You do that drive down the coast, down to Monterey and Carmel by the sea and stuff. But it's mad expensive, pal. I mean, if you wanted to play around the golf down there,
Who
you'd be on
bad
a wait.
that Bay is it or something?
Oh man, it's scandalous. You'd be on a waiting list probably for a couple of months. And then when you did get on, you're talking like you said. I think Pebble Beach, I think it's over 2 grand around, or it's like 1,500 quid or something.
Yeah.
Um, Mad expensive. Jesus.
That one I did that documentary in Spain in Algorfa, that were a fortune. Do you know what I mean? Bacon butties were like 15 quid in that bar, in that golf place.
Oh man, it's scandalous. I've got a friend over here. He's a lawyer, and he's there's a place, the Olympic Club. So they've held majors there a couple of times. But you can't pay as a guest or whatever. You either have to be a member, you have to be with a member. I've played there a few times with him. And it's some spot, man. It's lovely. And he's a gent, you know what I mean? It's like you go in, everybody's got a tab, you know how it goes. I wouldn't like to see the bill at the end of it, but it's nice to have friends in high places, man.
We're all right over there. I never paid for anything. Gary from Welcome Estates stood on for everything. Out you wanted, he stood on. So tip my hat off to him. But it's not for me that golf life. But if you're into that kind of thing, it's paradise out there.
Mm.
I'll go for if you're into golfing.
Yeah, me uncle goes out usually every year, unless something comes up. He loves it out there, but he's very good now. He's off. I think he's off 2 or 3 or something. Good golfer, I wouldn't be great, but I used to enjoy it back in Ireland. It's a lot more laid back, you know what I mean? You kind of, you wouldn't be rocking up in a tracksuit like Polly Walnuts, but chilled out. The bar's cheap after, you have a laugh, so it's a good old social buzz if you've got the right group playing, man.
Okay. Uh, Big Meech. Engano.
Yes, sir.
Fire away.
Um, the closer it gets, the more I'm excited. Not so much for the fight specifically, but look, it's a big event. As I've spoken about before, I like Ngannou. If there was one man out of MMA to kind of get this rub of the green, it'd definitely be him. There's not many fellas that get one over on the UFC or Dana White. And Dana White tried to pull him through the mud forever, basically. So I'm delighted to see him get one over. Um, I'm not going to change my prediction. I think it'll either be a late stoppage for AJ, or I'm more leaning towards AJ on points. I follow the UFC as much as I follow boxing. Big Ngannou doesn't get hurt. I mean, for context, the last fight on his UFC contract, they made him defend the belt against another Frenchman, this guy called Cyril Gane. And when he was going into the ring, so basically, certain commissions in the US will grant you exemptions if you have an injury. But obviously, a fighter will never talk about this until they're walking into the ring. So when he was going in, he had like a knee brace on, and even the commentators were like, something must have happened. They give him an exemption. It's not usual that somebody's wearing a knee brace. Turns out, man, came out after the fight. The fella completely tore his MCL and dislodged his meniscus in camp. That's the surgery he had before this fight to get back on his feet. So he went in there, man, with an absolutely mangled knee. He lost round 1 and 2 clearly, and he's never been a wrestler. And he won on all the scorecards. He won round 3 through 5, completely being out of his own, comfort zone in terms of he's not a wrestler and his knee was absolutely mangled. So the point I'm making is Dan Ngannou's built different. He's tough, tough, tough guy. My worry for him is he's had that surgery. He's been laid off for 18 months. Obviously he's only had one boxing fight. I think he'll start to slow down 8-9. And I think that's where AJ may get a stoppage, but I would probably lean more towards a decision because I don't think AJ is going to walk into the fire. I think there's remnants of that Andy Ruiz fight. I think that's still on his mind. It doesn't matter what he says out loud. I believe that fight changed him. So I don't see AJ walking in, being willing to exchange hooks. So yeah, late stoppage, mate, or points. What do you think this week since it's built up and Hills is out? What do you reckon, mate, to the whole debacle?
Well, I've just seen Eddie Hills confronting Johnny Horsecock about his comments about Big Meech. So they're all sensitive, aren't they? And maybe it's getting to Eddie Hills this week. Maybe his bum's twitching, but he's got him locked down for life anyway, Big Meech, with a matchroom deal. So whatever he's fighting, they'll get in a cut, or any work he gets, they'll get a cut. When he retires,
Yes,
so
sir.
they'll have him as a pundit. So he'll be put to graft till till he dies. It's a life deal, isn't it? But I
Mhm.
think Joshua wins this. If he don't, it's embarrassing for boxing. I mean, that were embarrassing enough. Fury getting dropped on it, and everybody's saying he lost.
Yep.
This would be even more embarrassing. But he wouldn't surprise me if he got knocked out. But I'm not going to be offensive. I think Joshua just runs over him.
Mm,
I think he just runs over him, mate. And I think Fury took it lightly, and I thought he could just walk through him. Fury done that many rounds with Tom Aspinall in Bolton. I've seen it myself. I've seen him spar. He probably
yep.
thought, oh, he's on Tom Aspinall's level. I'll just do what I want. But the guy came prepared, didn't he? He had a game plan, didn't he?
He did. Um, Obviously, look, the surprise factor is gone. I think that was a big part of it. I mean, I think for an MMA guy, what surprised me the most, I mean, from following him, I knew Big Francis could fight. I knew he was tough. I knew he had a heart. So he had all the prerequisites of what you needed. But he was going in there against arguably the best heavyweight of this generation, regardless of how strong you think this generation is. What kind of surprised me a lot was I thought for an MMA guy coming in, I thought his footwork was very strong. I say very strong, I mean that relatively. No, I'm not saying he was bouncing around like Ali, but the way he was kind of creating angles and rolling with shots and stuff. Look, I'm not saying it was Usyk level. I'm just saying for an MMA fighter, it did surprise me. But that surprise factor is gone now. And you don't hear it from any of the usual crew. Nobody's talking about 18-month layoff for Ngannou. Anybody that's not on the payroll. Um, that has to be a big factor, man. He's a massive guy too, and being a big guy obviously has its pros, but a big con of that is you got to get oxygen around to all those muscles, and you've had a big surgery and you had 18 months on the couch. Yeah, I'm sure he's been training, but you know what I mean. I think that's going to play a big factor. Um, and I think, Fury has leaned on, pardon the pun, Fury has leaned on that strategy before. Like we saw it against Wallin, we saw it against multiple fighters, that when he's not getting his own way, he's just been rough with fellas. He's laying on them. He's put his weight on. I mean, even I went back and I watched the third Wilder fight again, and the ref was trying to break them up an awful lot, and the referee would have to tell Fury at least 3 times to break. Because he was just trying to wear Wilder down. I don't think he was able to do that against Ngannou, and I don't think Fury accounted for that properly before he went in because Ngannou's a tank. Um, That's why I think AJ is gonna. I'm not saying he's gonna get on his bike. I just think, he's gonna move the way he should. He's gonna use his boxing. I don't think he's gonna engage early. I think it might be a very, very boring fight for 3 or 4 rounds. Um, and then, yeah, I just think. I mean, look, like you say, we're all talking about this fight through and through. On paper, this should be an easy night's work for AJ. I'm not saying he should go in and stop him in 30 seconds, but all things considered, this should be an exhibition. So, yeah, man, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get it done. But like you said, it would be massively embarrassing to the sport if Big Francis was able to get a W somehow. But I don't think but Francis isn't going to win a decision unless he knocks him down twice around for 6 rounds. He'll do very well to win a judge's scorecards. You know?
He'll do very, very well.
Yeah.
All right, then. We'll not dwell on this one longer, too much longer for Zhang and Parker. But how do you see that one going?
I I think Zhang wins. Parker does have look, he's been an ex-world champion. I know his nickname on here is a stinkinator, but he's definitely got some good facets to his game. He's light on his feet. He moves well. But that was true when he fought Big Joe Joyce. And, he did have success. He couldn't really put a dent in Joyce, but he won rounds. I just think Zhang gets to him at some point. I don't necessarily think it's early. But I think Zhang's a better boxer overall than Parker. I'm not saying he moves better, but I think he's all round. I think he's a better fighter, and I think he'll get to him. And I think he'll stop him. Uh, Probably see a stoppage, maybe I don't know 6 through 9, something like that. But I've Zhang winning. I think he's got good momentum. Not that not that Parker doesn't have momentum either after beating Wilder, but I mean that was a shell a Wilder, and I'm not just trying to be a detractor. I think it's a mixture of him kind of semi-retiring in his head. Obviously, he went and he done the ayahuasca retreat, which I think fair play to him. You know what I mean? He's obviously trying to quench a few demons, and he's passed. But I also think Malik Scott. The more you see it, man, that Malik Scott link up. I think it's what's kind of ruined Wilder's career, if I'm honest. You take away all the good things that Wilder had, and I know he was quite basic in terms of his boxing fundamentals, but I don't know. I'm not saying Malik Scott's a terrible coach, but I do think he's a terrible coach for Wilder. So, yeah, I think Big Bang gets it done. What about you, mate?
Well, going back to what you said earlier in your answer regarding Joe Parker, you know why he couldn't put a dent in Joyce? You know why?
The dentist Bowens in the UK, maybe.
There you go, mate. He's got the strongest bones, 6 times stronger than Terry McCann's bone density, according to Samuel.
Oh, Samuel.
Isn't that
God.
right, Samuel?
Listen, that'll only get you so far. Look, whether it should have been said or it shouldn't, even if it's true, um, like I like Big Joe Joyce and Joyce's character. I like watching him fight. Like even when he loses, you know what I mean? Like those two fights with Zhang, even if you were a Joyce supporter, I mean, for the neutral, they were exciting fights to watch for bad reasons if you're a UK fan. Um, but I mean, I would be surprised now if his chin's not gone at the top level. Like that second Zhang defeat was crushing, and I mean the punch that put him down. Oh my days! I mean it was just the perfect hook. So I don't know, man. Um, I don't know if we see Big Joe Joyce at the elite level again.
You know, Zhang, right? I had him beating Ergovic,
Me too.
So in my
Yeah.
eyes, he's undefeated, Zhang.
Yep. Yep.
Nobody mentions him, do they? They don't give him a mention, do they?
No, he's almost become the he's
Louis
almost
Ortiz, like Louis Ortiz, isn't he?
you took the words out of my mouth, Chief. That's exactly what he is. Different style, you know what I mean? But he's definitely the avoided man currently. I mean, they're putting these fighters in front of him. I think kind of in the back of some of these promoter minds, they're probably look. I would say most promoters are bar Parker's promoters. I would say the likes of Bricktop and Hills are pulling for a Parker win because I think a Parker is a much easier matchup. Um, obviously AJ's beat him already. I know him and Fury are in camp, but Zhang's dangerous, man. You know what I mean? Like he can put your lights out with one punch. We've seen that. Um, whereas Parker's a death by 1,000 cuts. You know what I mean? So he's definitely the bogeyman, pal, in my opinion. No doubt about it.
Who's the only Brit to fight Luis Ortiz?
The Rhino.
The White Rhino.
The White Rhino,
And,
sorry,
and he
sorry.
signed Ortiz, but yet there were only Dave Allen who stepped up to the plate. Nobody
Yeah.
else wanted to go near him, so they let old fucking Daft Dead fight him, didn't they? And basically ruin himself. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I was
whoever
look.
let that happen, the board for sanctioning it, fair enough, they took because he was WBA interim world champion. He were number 1 ranked and all that, wasn't he?
Hmm.
So there's all that, and they're putting a kid in there who's what had 10 fights or something, 10, 11 fights.
Yeah, it was a kamikaze mission, wasn't it, man? Look,
Kamikaze.
well, I'm saying going in as Alan was. I
But
mean,
Johnny, all right, then this is how I look at it, right? Who's the interim champion now at heavyweight? Give me an interim champion, somebody who you could say. Who is it? It's Zhang, innit?
absolutely,
So would you put Zhang in now with Johnny Fisher?
absolutely not.
Right. So if Mark Tibbs, right, and Eddie Hills and Old Man Fisher, Big Johnny Senior, if they
Hmm.
put little Johnny Bosch in with Zhang now, and he did to little Johnny Bosch what Ortiz did to Dave Allen, there would be an inquiry in the House of Commons. Let me tell you, if that happened to little Johnny Bosch. What happened
Hmm.
to Dave to White Rhino? We got 12.5 grand and sent on his way, mate. There you go. Pop, pop, bang on that one. Hey,
Yeah.
how bad is that? That's
No,
it.
yeah,
That's bad, that mate, isn't it? Is that bad?
shocking. Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I saw it announced, I thought initially it was a rumor. Because when I thought about it, I was like, if you're promoting, like, White Rhino would had good momentum and stuff. But I was like, no, this has to be a rumor. This can't be confirmed. I was like, God, what are they doing putting them in with this? Like, I know most fighters are going to have the heart, and they're going to want to step up to the plate and stuff, but there's levels. Yeah, I didn't like it when it was announced. I didn't like watching the fight. And I thought, it set Allen back big time, on multiple levels. I mean, he didn't get fixed financially for it. You know what I mean? It screwed him up physically. I'm sure he screwed him up mentally as well. So it put him back, in every category. I mean, you're saying they're 12.5 grand. Oh my days, what is that about?
Yeah, you've got people to pay out that. You know,
Yeah, you're probably walking away with
did it
four.
all in. Did it all in. What he had about 9.5 bags or something. I think he did it all in it casino. I think he said went on about it on IFL.
It's sad, man. Like
Sad,
that's
isn't
very
it?
sad. Yeah.
Got to
I
feel for him,
mean,
hadn't you? But he shouldn't have been put in that situation in there. It should have been Joshua and Luis Ortiz, and it should have been Dave Allen and Eric Molina. That's who
yep.
it should have been.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
that's what, yeah, man, that's why I'm referring to it as a kamikaze mission because, like, as a promoter putting them in that fight, you're going to say what you're going to say in front of the cameras. But look, if somebody put a gun to your head and they strap you to a lie detector test, somebody asked you, is Dave Allen, multiple levels below Ortiz, you would have to say yes. And that's not me digging Dave Allen out, just facts. You know what I mean? So you have to know that's wrong. Um, in terms of pedigree, in terms of everything. I mean, that's up there with. with one of the worst. I know we talked about Callum Smith and Mundo and stuff, but I mean, he was mandatory, and you know what I mean. He had won a world title at super middleweight, so that's a little bit different. But no, that Dave Allen Ortiz fight should have never happened. And you know what, man? This is where I've talked to you before about this. This is why I give Deontay Wilder, bags of credit, because he fought Ortiz as the mandatory for the WBC belt. And obviously, very exciting fight. Obviously, maybe he should have got stopped. He didn't. He came back. He rallied. He won the fight. He then went back in there with a boogeyman twice. Now, you're telling me that Dave Allen's the only Englishman to fight him or Brit to fight him. Whereas then you have Deontay the Dog Wilder going in there twice, not once, twice. Second time he didn't have to. Um, Obviously it shows that he trusts in his ability to spark anybody out, but it also shows that he had big brass cojones between his legs. So you got to give him credit, I think, pal.
Oh, Dave Allen.
Deontay Wilder.
Don't say Wilder. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Listen, Wilder looks like he just don't want to be there no more, doesn't he? You know,
Yeah,
Wilder.
yeah.
But getting back to what we were speaking about, I'm gonna go for I don't know. I'm gonna go for Zhang on that.
Yeah.
I want to speak to you about Andy Lee's role with Parker. Has he made a difference?
He definitely has. I think it's I think it's being a wee bit overcooked. And bias would tell me don't go against an Irishman. I'm not saying for a second that he's done a bad job, but people are talking about, the Parker masterclass and clinic against Wilder. And I'm not just detracting on Parker or Lee for the sake of it, but I think that was a
Not
completely,
talking clinics for that, are they? We're a guy who didn't want to fight.
you know what I mean, man?
Get him out there.
Yeah, exactly. And you
We're
hear
not
this master.
talking. Who's talking clinics on that? Oh my God.
Well, the usual sus. I think I heard God talk about a master
Oh my
class,
God. What?
this and that.
God,
Give me,
wind your neck in, man. Have your laptop in as well while you're at it. You know what I mean? The God. Where's he come from, him?
yeah. Oh, you
What,
tell me, pal. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, not too
do you
sure.
feel a little bit sorry, Adam, for Kevin Barry? Trainer for Parker. Obviously, how what happened and that. Do you think after all they went through, do you think he can feel a little bit aggrieved?
Absolutely. Um, I mean, look, if a fighter like we've seen it with Ebony Bridges multiple times. If a fighter wants to cut ties, they cut ties, and it's as simple as that. And this is why I'm saying I think the whole Andy Lee connection's been a bit overcooked. I think I think Parker has looked a lot fitter under Lee. And this isn't me saying Andy Lee's a bad coach. That's not what I'm getting at. I just think, the way people are revering it and, you hear these words being thrown around masterclass and stuff. I think that, but like, let me put it like this. If Parker goes in there and schools Zhang, then I'll get behind this renaissance that people are talking about. I think he's looked in better shape. I think he's definitely looked fitter. But who did he fight? Who did he fight 2 fights ago? Was it Dempsey McKean? Maybe Parker fought. Was that
He
it?
fought, Jack Massey, didn't he?
That was it. Jack Massey. Was either him or maybe it was McKean before. But I didn't think he looked like a world beater. Um, in either of those fights. And you could argue that he lost the first Chisora fight. I know that was their first Andy Lee and for Parker's first fight together. But he's had a few, it's not like he's had 5 brilliant performances. He had a good one over Wilder, but he's had a few kind of
Well,
workmanlike
he's beat
performances in the
Ruiz.
game.
He's beat Ruiz, who beat Joshua. He's beat
Yeah.
Wilder, who beat Ortiz twice and Stavern twice. He's beat, he lost to Dylan White. He's beat Chisora.
Hmm.
There isn't many more on his record after Ruiz and Wilder, is many big dogs.
Nope. No.
Because he's tagged onto Fury group, he's hanging around for crumbs in Parker because without them, where is he really? He's just a useless part, isn't he? So he can hang around with them, do all sparring with them, and pick up crumbs and get on shows because he's friendship with Tyson, can't he? That's why he's bought an house in Morecambe. I mean, we've got
Hmm.
people here emigrating to Morecambe of all places from a beautiful place like New Zealand just because they want to get on a slot.
Oh man, you go from Lord of the Rings to Lord of the Flies. Hey, oh my days.
Oh yeah. Well,
You
that's
know,
in it for you, mate. It's the only sport that does this to you. Moving on
yeah.
from that lot, then. Oh, sorry. I'll just finish up on this. Daniel Dubois.
Uh-huh.
Uh, his fight's with Ergovic's not announced, is it?
No, not yet. Sorry, just to close the point about Parker, one literally final comment I want to make. On his record, he's got a win versus Ruiz and he's got a win versus Hughie Fury as a defense for the belt. I had Hughie Fury beating him by probably 2 rounds. And I only saw highlights of the Ruiz fight, but apparently that was very contentious too, you know. So these weren't clear cut, master classes to quote Greasy Gad. They were very, very, very nip
A
and
lot of
tuck
Dylan
fights.
White's wins weren't masterclasses, were they really?
No,
Dave
no.
Allen took Dylan White to points.
Mm-hmm. So I,
Hey,
I just mean it's easy to look at a record. Oh, he's beat Ruiz and he beat Hughie Fury and stuff. I watched the Fury fight from start to finish. I had Fury winning. I thought he got mugged a bit. But whatever. It was a negative fight. Sorry, going back to Dubois. No announcement. Well, Hergovic is right. Um, I don't know, man. That's a tight one. That's a tight one. Um, I don't know, mate. That's close to a 50-50. I know Hergovich had to blow over Mark Demore last time out, so I don't think that's I don't think it did much for him, obviously with the public. I don't think it did much for him in terms of obviously not getting he didn't get rounds or anything. Um, but Hergovich's not bad. Like we talked about, I did have Zhang beating him, but I didn't know at the time that Hergovich's dad, I think, had passed away fight week. I had no idea. So that kind of paints a bit of a picture or explains his performance a bit more. Um, it's a fight I'd like to see, man, for sure. I mean, like I said, I think it's close to a 50-50. I think, Dubois got a bit of momentum, stopped. He was in hot water early in the Jarrell Muller fight, and he ended up stopping him. So, it's definitely one I would like to see, man. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Martin McCauley.
The adopted Scotsman.
He's forgotten, isn't he? The forgotten man, isn't he?
Mm,
Has he had a raw deal, Adam?
I think so. I think so. I'm not sure as to any of the how and the why as to why we talked about it previously briefly about he's high risk, low reward probably. Um, but he should be in the mix. I mean, I think he's a well capable fighter. And obviously I don't think AJ has too many left. That Fury definitely doesn't have too many left. Obviously, I don't think Chisora should have too many left. So I think we need, he's relatively young. What age is he? He's like 27, 28, Macaulay, isn't he?
I don't know, to be honest. I know he must be, you are, but he looks about 40.
Yeah, let me check here.
How old? Have a look. It must be 30 or 30, late 30s, surely.
Yeah, Martin Macaulay. Let's see here. Oh, sorry, 30 years old. 30.
30. He looks way older, man.
He does, doesn't he, in fairness?
It's another Sonny Liston, isn't he?
He is actually, now you say it, he is a bit like Liston. He looks a bit less mean than Liston, I'll give him that. But he's got a big, strong frame on him. 6'6". Whew. He's some lump, to be fair. Yeah, look, the more British heavyweights in the mix, the better. Love them or hate them. I have no ill will at all towards Macaulay, you know what I mean? We want the heavyweight scene to be good, you know what I mean? It kind of perpetuates boxing and keeps people interested, the casuals. So yeah, get them in the mix. You know what I mean? Why not? I tell you what, actually, the boys have had a war of words. The can man is back in business. Get him in there with Macaulay. That's a fight. Easy to make.
I'm
You
just
know what I mean?
coming to him now. The can man. Anybody who wants it can get it. Right,
Oh,
he's had 4 PED issues in his career, one in K2 and 3 in boxing. One he got a 2-year ban, and the Rivers one, and the Oscar and the Joshua rematch one that never happened because of it. But they
yeah.
tried to put Rivers on it, didn't they? They haven't happened. Uh, they're shrouded in mystery now, aren't they? Them two. So he's tested, or he had. What is it? Which is it? Well, has he found a loophole?
Man, at this point, I honestly don't know. I mean, when I first moved out to the States, I always laugh even telling this story. So we started working construction with this fella when we moved out, you know. We got a job first weekend, great happy days. So we roll up, and this lad, you know, big friendly, smiley lad, and we roll in, and he's like, "Look, lads, I keep things pretty simple around here." And he asked us, he goes, "Have you ever heard the saying, 'Fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me'?" And we were all like, "Yeah, yeah, of course." He says, "Around here, it goes more like, 'Fool me once, and I'll kick the fucking shit out of you.'" So
Yeah.
we were all laughing away. The reason I bring that up is because this is 4 times for Mr. White. You know what I mean? 4 times? I mean, what do you do with that? Like, there's no more fooling to be done. We've talked about, yeah,
Breaking bail all the time at magistrates. Magistrates keep getting you bail and all that. You're like, how come we keep getting bail all the time? I
yeah.
mean, how come he's getting let off all the time? What is going on? What is going on here? We've got a man here with 4 failures and two not guilties.
Mm,
He's the only man to have. I think he's the only one to ever get a not guilty, and now he's had 2 not guilties. And is that a record in boxing? I think it is, isn't it?
it could be. He's pound for pound at getting away with this kind of stuff
Only
for
one
getting
I
cleared.
knew that got off with one. Now he's the only one that's beat the system too. I mean, who's his lawyer? Johnny Cochran.
He's got the dream team anyway, whoever they are. I mean, look, these lawyers, if they're good enough, you know, they know the loopholes. I mean, it's the same as Crusher being able to fight in the United States, you know, jurisdiction. This is what they're hanging on to. And then Eddie Hearns paints this picture that, you know, they love him in America. They sanction him with every board. They let him fight. They can't not let him fight. That's what Eddie Hearn doesn't give you the fine print. You know what I mean? And that Weasel Hawani as well. He had on Conor Ben, and he was saying, "Oh, you know, everywhere across America sanctions the fight. Either they want you to fight, but your own country won't." You know, painting them up as this victim. It's purely a technicality. It's nothing to do with Conor Ben. It's nothing to do with anybody. I think that Dillian White's reps, you know, they must know a loophole or two within you know, like you said, he's got 2 not guilties. But look, I don't know, mate. Like I said, you know, 4 times. I just I don't put it this way. I'll put it like this simply. I won't be watching any of his future fights. I won't watch. Just
Where
won't.
is boxing now? Where Dylan White's just come back and this has happened and he's back in mix. He ain't got a board license. He's Portugal based. We've
Yeah.
got a Jamaican here saying he's a Brit, but living in Portugal, not paying tax, and now he's on a Texas license, and he's had 2 not guilties for doping. Right, he's had 4 doping issues, and he's been cleared on 2. Right, so he says the other one's shrouded in mystery. That B sample one, in it from Rivers one.
Yep.
Now there's this one which they're saying is contaminated. So if there's a loophole, he's found it. So you tip your hat off to him
Mm-hmm.
for finding it, but how does this look on the sport? Or have we all got it wrong and these testing people don't know what they're doing? And these lawyers are finding out mistakes. So what is the answer?
I'll start with the end of what you said there. I think the testing bodies absolutely know what they're doing. Um, you know, Hearns, the whole thing with the WBC, if you want to be in their rankings, you have to subscribe to WADA, right? So that was the whole thing. WBC basically brought them in as a partner, whatever way you want to put it. Um, so Hearns always said about Crusher, he said he didn't have to sign up to WADA. This isn't mandatory. But again, he leaves out the fine print. If you want to be ranked with the WBC, it is mandatory. Obviously, Crusher wanted to be ranked. So the testing's there. It's good. It's real. Where does it leave the sport, pal? It leaves it in disarray. Like, to me, the only initial solution to it, this whole talk of jurisdiction, it has to go. There
Yeah.
has to be, you talk about a world governing body. Um, if you test hot in America, you can't fight in the UK and vice versa.
Yeah.
One body, one organization. If you pop with VADA, you can't fight anywhere. You know what I mean? Because it'll stop multiple things. But if you look at Crusher, it would stop this whole victim complex. Oh, they love me in the US. I can fight here. I can fight in Las Vegas, whatever. You take that away. If people can't fight anywhere, there's no, Eddie, you can't roll out hills and they'll say, oh my God, the UK are persecuting this young man and he's such a good lad and stuff. Take that axe out of their hands, one body, one testing regime. You pop hot in Timbuktu, you're not fighting in Bristol, So that's the only solution, pal. Will it happen? Highly doubtful,
Yeah. Do you want to go on to part 2, mate?
Sounds good, pal. See you in a sec. Jumping straight on. Thanks.
Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Please join us on part 2. Pop, pop, bang. Max, how are ya? What are you weighing, lad? Pop, pop, bang to you, Max.